Could apartment living help to slow climate change? Let's talk about it on this week's episode of The Empathic Ecologist.
Empathy is a human superpower. It sparks our curiosity, engages our compassion, and animates our connection to all living things. Let us journey together towards understanding as we sail through space on this amazing ship we call planet Earth. This is The Empathic Ecologist.
I live in an apartment. I have 4 kids, so it can get a bit crazy at home sometimes. My life partner and I have been talking about buying a home for a while, but I'm no longer certain that that's the right decision. What might be very convenient for our family would not necessarily be what's best for the ecosystem. What if all of us humans decided to live in multi-level apartment buildings? Would that decision slow climate change? Let's take a look. There are a lot of apartments in New York City. There are a lot of people in New York City. Per square mile, it is one of the most densely populated places on the planet. What does that translate to in environmental impact? Calculated by the square foot, New York City generates more greenhouse gases, uses more energy, and produces more solid waste than any other American region of comparable size. So says David Owen in his book Green Metropolis. However, that is not the whole story. He continues. This way of thinking obscures a profound environmental truth. New Yorkers, individually, drive, pollute, consume, and throw away much less than do the average residents of the surrounding suburbs, exurbs, small towns, and farms. How is this true, you may wonder? David says that it is because the tightly circumscribed space in which they live creates efficiencies and reduces the possibilities for reckless consumption. Most important, the city's unusually high concentration of population enables the majority of residents to live without automobiles. Let me rephrase that last point for emphasis. The majority of humans living in New York City do not own cars. Do you understand how profound that fact is? Let's contemplate it for a few moments. But first, watch this video from the most recent entry in the climate change series. What you just watched was a mere 20 minutes of rush hour traffic, compressed into 20 seconds using time-lapse photography. 20 minutes! Hundreds of automobiles drove by in that short time span. I'd wager 90% or more of them burn fossil fuels for energy. Why are they out there on the road in the first place? One of the reasons we have phenomena like rush hour traffic is that our populations are so spread out. The urban sprawl, as some call it. As so many of us have pursued the American dream of a nice suburban house with a white picket fence, 2-car garage, and a big yard, our urban areas have grown and grown and grown in land mass. And typically, as David Owen also points out, the more spread out our houses are, the more dependent we are upon automobiles. We have to get in a car to drive in order to go to the grocery store, the mall, the bar, our kids' schools, our workplaces, you name it. And all of that driving results in more and more carbon emissions. And artificially induced climate change increases. So, getting back to our original topic, would most of these extra carbon emissions be reduced if we chose to live closer together in high-rise apartment buildings? Let's use my own city, Winston-Salem, North Carolina, as an example, as we seek to answer this question. When I first moved to Winston-Salem, there wasn't a lot going on downtown. It was kind of sad, really. There were very few restaurants, no coffee shops, aside from the Starbucks inside the Marriott Hotel, and very few stores. Add to that the drug houses, the prostitution, and you get a recipe for the desertion of downtown rather than its growth. But our city planners, combined with local entrepreneurs, have worked together to revitalize our downtown. It is now a choice destination for new residents. New apartment buildings are being built all the time. But is there a support structure here in downtown which would enable those new residents to find everything they need within walking distance? Let's take a look. This might be the closest we have to a grocery store in downtown Winston-Salem. And it is not big enough to support all of the downtown residents. So most choose to drive 2.5 miles or so down the road to the nearest full-service grocery stores, such as Whole Foods, Publix, Harris Teeter, or Trader Joe's. While 2.5 miles might not seem like a lot, the travel adds up. This will only increase as more residents move into downtown. So, what if someone were to open up a full-service grocery store right here in the heart of Winston-Salem? How much would that reduce the carbon emissions produced by its residents? Let's do a bit of math. If you're driving a vehicle like mine, which gets approximately 25 miles per gallon in city, then you'd be burning 0.2 gallons of gasoline per round trip to the store. If you make one trip per week, that's 10.4 gallons consumed per person per year. According to Google, downtown Winston-Salem has 14,000 inhabitants. Let's say at least 10,000 of those people own cars. Multiply 10.4 gallons by 10,000 cars, and it comes up to 104,000 gallons of gas consumed by downtown Winston-Salem residents per year just by traveling to the grocery store. What does that translate to in CO2 emissions? According to the EPA, the average gallon of gasoline once burned produces approximately 8,887 grams of CO2. Diesel fuel produces even more, at a rate of 10,180 grams per gallon. Postulating that 9,000 of those 10,000 vehicles operate on gasoline and the other 10% operate on diesel, I'm leaving out electric vehicles for the purpose of this example, let's figure out how much CO2 is put into the atmosphere by downtown Winston-Salem residents traveling to and from the grocery store each year. So if we multiply the first 9,000 vehicles powered by gasoline times 8,887 grams, we get 79,983,000 grams, or 79.983 metric tons of carbon dioxide. If we multiply the remaining 1,000 diesel vehicles by 10,180 grams, we get 10,180,000 grams, or 10.18 metric tons of CO2, for a whopping total of 90.163 metric tons. So a mere 10,000 downtown residents are putting 90 metric tons of CO2 into the atmosphere each year, just by going to the grocery store. It's not hard to imagine, considering these numbers, how humans en masse are pumping 9 billion metric tons of CO2 into the atmosphere each year. That is definitely enough to disrupt the normal carbon cycle. Conversely, imagine if all of us humans who own automobiles started cutting back on our travel time. What if we moved into apartments and developed city centers which have all the amenities located within easy walking or biking distance? We could reverse the trend.
So what do you think? Should we start remaking our cities in order to reduce our dependence on fossil fuel-powered vehicles? Should we all move into apartments? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. And please, take a minute to like and subscribe. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of The Empathic Ecologist. I'll see you next time.